video, we're going to show you how to change oil in a 74 Honda CB550. This is going to be pretty similar for most of the Honda CBs. There's, you know, the different models, but they're pretty similar, so it shouldn't be too hard to do. First things first, let's start the bike and get it warmed up. You are going to need some tools. Obviously, you're going to need 4 quarts of oil. We're going with the Honda stuff because it's a Honda, why not? So we're going to use this stuff. We have our oil filter, we have a crush washer, we have our big O-ring and this small O-ring. So that should take care of that. You're going to need a 17mm socket. You will need a torque wrench, and you will need this is either a 12 or like a 7/16 or something. I think it's supposed to be a 12mm, but it seems like 7/16 is fitting on mine a lot better. I'm probably going to have to take this thing out of the way just so I can get to there to get that off. But that's, you know, this is just something that someone added to the bike a while ago before my father bought it. So, all right, let's go start this thing up and get it warmed up. After your bike is all warmed up, there is going to be a nut on this bike. It's right where that little mark is that tells about all the gears. The bolt's going to be right under there. I don't want to touch the pipes because they're hot right now. But it is a 17mm. It's right over there. Let me go on the other side to see if I can show you a better view. Alright, so we are on the other side of the bike. And as you can see, right there, there is that 17mm bolt. That is a drain bolt. So obviously lefty-loosey to get that out. And then the oil drain. And then we'll start tackling the oil filter part, which is over here. I gotta take this thing off to do that, but let me first drain the oil. Alright, so we are draining the oil over here. We're going to wait for this to keep draining. I'll use the kickstart a couple times just to get any excess crap out and let the pipes cool off so I can get back in here. The torque spec for the drain bolt is supposed to be anywhere from 25 to 28, so we're going to torque it to 26 foot-pounds and call it a day, and that should be good. I'm going to also go to the dipstick and take that out just so we have more airflow. All right, we got the jack lifted up just so it's easier. As you can see, we have our ratchet on here. Usually most bikes don't have this, some do, but some don't. So I had to take the 2 bolts out of here and the other side just so I could squeeze the wrench in there. I'm gonna use a breaker bar just to make it easy and break that thing loose. Obviously oil's gonna come out, so get your oil pan ready. That was definitely on there pretty tight. I used the breaker bar to get it off. You are just supposed to make this thing pretty snug. You don't want to go too tight with it. So I am going to get this off now. I'm going to get this socket off of there for now, just so that it doesn't fall in the oil and it doesn't get pinned up against here. So let me move this out of the way. I'll move this and go like that. Okay. This thing right there. Okay, socket's off. Jesus. That was pain in the neck. So we will get the appropriate wrench for this thing. And we will start taking it off. All right, so we already got oil leaking from there. So crack it, let the oil completely drain. Then after that, you can take out the bolt fully. All right, so we're going to take all this off. We are going to hold this as we loosen the bolt out. No idea how long this bolt is going to be. So we'll just keep going at it until it comes off the engine block. Okay, it seems to come off. We're going to tilt this down. All right. So as you can see, we have our big O-ring on here, which we will replace and obviously lube. The oil filter is in here. There is a, looks like there is a washer type of thing, and there's going to be a spring in there and all types of other stuff. So let me pull this out so I can show you guys. This thing just pulls straight out. And there is the spring in there. As you can see, there's the spring. And there is a decent amount of oil in there. So I'm going to pour this oil out. And I'm getting oil all over the place. So I'm just going to throw this back in here for now. I'm going to take this off. Obviously, we'll replace it. We're going to replace the O-ring. Put oil on the O-ring before we reinstall this back into there. Let me start working on this and I will show you it. Here's your oil filter. This just pulls straight out. It might be a little tight. This comes out. There is that spring on there, as you can see. I'm going to pour out this excess oil and see if I can get this thing out. Okay, so to get this thing out, you literally just push it. It will come out. And as you can see, that's that ring I was talking about. Supposedly you're supposed to replace it. I will do it because I have this one. So I'm going to take this one off, use something like a pick or a small skinny screwdriver just to get it off the housing over here. And then we'll replace it with the other one and put oil on it. Just in case the one that I got is not right, we're going to be gentle with this one in case we need to save it. So just bend it over, okay. Easy peasy, and just pull it off like that. So the oil is so slippery right now that I can't get this thing off. Okay, so there's that. And the O-ring that I have looks a little bit smaller, but I think I'm going to get it to work. So let me start pulling. We're going to put our new O-ring on here, as you can see. O-ring. That, just slip it over. It's gonna be a A little bit of pain. Okay, push it in. Just push this over like so. This will go into that little hole right here. Push that in there. Now I'm gonna get some oil. I mean, there's oil on here, so I could probably just do it like that. But I will get some fresh oil and wipe it around this ring like so. Well, it doesn't matter if it's dirty or so. I guess we'll just use some of the oil in here just to make sure that this thing is lubed up. Okay, that seems good. We'll save this for a rainy day. For probably just toss it, but so this just goes back into here, and literally it just pushes in and then it seals. All right, so we have our new O-ring on this bolt. We will put our spring back in. This will go in first, like so. You can see the spring is there. And we will put our oil filter. I saw this label as I was pulling it out, so I'm gonna put it in the same way. This thing you're gonna have to push down and press it down on the sides over here to get it to fully seat. So right now, it's kind of fucking hard. So I may actually, yeah, I think I'm gonna grab a little bit of oil and actually lube this up here and the other one just so it slides down more easy. Now that we lubed this up, let's push it down. It's gonna probably need a good squeeze to do this. Oh yeah, fucker's tight. Okay, it just pops in there like so. Push it all the way down until you can feel the spring push back at you. Like so. You can see that is. There it is, it's moving. And then the silver part. And it says some stuff on there. I don't know what the heck someone wrote on there, but I'm not going to worry about it. We're just going to clean this up, clean up the threads, and wipe down this whole area because obviously the O-ring we will lube and put onto there. We'll get the old one out, but we want to make sure that this thing is squeaky clean first. All right, that should do it for that. I'm going to take the O-ring off of here and replace it with the new one and lube it with the oil like I did before. All right, so we will take this one out. Be very careful. Get this sucker out. Yeah, so just kind of get one end and then it just comes right out. Like so. Okay, we have our new ring. Some fresh oil on there. We will lube this sucker up good. All the way around. It's plenty lubed up. All right, and then this will just press into here, into that hole. Line it up, boom, fits perfectly. Look at that, hoo-hee, ha-ha. We're good. And we'll make sure that this thing's got a little bit of oil in there. Next, I'm gonna pour some oil into here, because I do wanna get some to get into the actual filter part. So I'll go do that now. We'll lube this up first. Okay, and remember guys, this little point on the back side, it doesn't have that, it just has the fins. Oh, shit. The little point goes right into that middle, and I'll show you that as I'm doing it. Let me finish this up. Okay, that's good. Pour a little bit of oil in here. Whoop. Obviously, it's going to go on the filter. Oh. I don't think you got to put it on here, but it's just the way when I poured it in there, it kind of went on the side. Should have went in the middle, but not a big deal. Okay, this is all lubed good. All right, let's go put this on the bike. All right, guys, like I said, this little block part right there, that goes right, let me get this into the camera, into that little center part right here. So it's got to be in the middle of that. Make sure that you line those up. All right, so we got this. We will make sure we have our knob going towards this way. Move this down so it's out of the way. I'm gonna rag under here just so that if any oil leaks, we don't got a problem. And obviously this has to push against there, and you have to turn the bolt and line it up with the threads. Do not strip it. So we will line this up like so. All right, that kind of clicked into place. Push it up against the block and start to turn this thing and start to catch the threads. I'm actually going to put a wrench on here and get this where I need to be. It's a little bit of a pain because you gotta press it and catch some threads at the same time. Okay, so we have the middle part lined up right in between those two brackets. It is starting to get tight, so I'm gonna just snug this puppy up. That should be pretty good. I'll wipe it down because some oil came out. Like I said, very important to get that block in the center of those two. You do have to push this thing up because you have that spring that's in there. So once you catch it, you get your thread, just keep pushing it. It will line up and you'll be all right. So make this pretty snug. So another thing I like to do is check out the oil and make sure there's like really no metal flakes in it at all. If you have metal flakes, then you probably got a problem, but this oil actually looks pretty darn clean considering, I mean, it's dirty, obviously, but I'm not seeing really any metal flakes at all. So that's actually a good thing. I'm gonna dispose of this now, and then we'll start getting the drain bolt back into place. All right, so you have your oil drain bolt. We're gonna take off this oil crush washer. We will put this one on, like so. And then you will go over here. There's your hole right there. Clean that up with a rag, put your bolt back in, tighten it up pretty good, and then torque it to 26 foot-pounds. All right. Okay, she is torqued. Now we're gonna put 3 quarts in here. Usually it's a little over 3 quarts when you do an oil filter change. So do the 3 quarts first. We'll start it up for a couple seconds, shut it down, wait a little bit, let the oil sit all the way down, and then we'll read the dipstick and see where it is, and we'll add accordingly. All right, so now we're gonna put our 3 quarts in. We're gonna just put in about a quart first to just make sure there's nothing leaking out, and then we'll put the other 2 quarts in. I don't have something to measure this out, so what I'm gonna do, and it's kind of hard to see it, so what I'm gonna do is I have an empty quart. I'm gonna fill this up. Then that way I know that if I put the rest of this in, it'll be 3 quarts exactly. We'll take the measurement from there, and then I could always add using this thing if needed. All right, so we put our 3 quarts in. get the motorcycle straight up and down as possible. There is a center stand you can use if you're not using a lift. Since I'm using the lift and I have to push it back, it's just going to be a real pain in the ass. So I just used some blocks of wood under the kickstand to get it straight. Obviously, you want to have it in between the low and the high mark, or a little bit towards the top is always good. When you check this, you do not screw it in. You just place it down all the way and then take it out and get your reading. All right, we are just about, so it's hard to see, but we were about 3/4 of the way up. I'm going to start the bike up really quick, just for a couple seconds, and then shut it down, let the oil soak back down, and take another reading. I'll put this dipstick back in there first, because we don't need oil coming out, and obviously we'll check for leaks. All right, that should be plenty. We're gonna let this sit for probably, I don't know, 5-10 minutes, let the oil get all the way back down, and we'll retake our reading. All right, we let the bike sit for a little bit. We can see that our dipstick is nice and clear. Now, with the bike straight up and down, we're just gonna push this thing until it bottoms out, and check the level. So we are right around 3/4 of the way, so that's probably, or a little bit more than half, so that's perfect. I could either add a tiny bit more if I want, and that's about it. So we'll just put this back in here, make sure this is nice and tight. Always make sure that the O-ring is on there, otherwise this thing will come loose and you will lose it. I've had this happen on street bikes because I bought an oil cap and I thought it came with the O-ring. I didn't look at it, and lo and behold it didn't, and I almost lost the bike. So all right, guys, so that's going to do it for today's video. Pretty simple process how to do this thing, not too crazy. This bike was definitely in need of an oil change. God knows how long it's been, but the oil didn't look too bad. It just was, you know, dirty. So, all right, guys, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you in the next one.